Forget Melrose. 90210 was a joke. It's time to get real. You're listening to The Real Realtors of the 804 with Janice Taylor, Richmond's #1 award-winning realtor. Janice and the Taylor team are here to bring you answers, give you insight, and share their experience in the real estate world. And now, Janice Taylor.
Hi, everyone. We are back with Podcast 6 and so excited to be with you today. We are today going to talk about new construction versus resale homes, pros, cons of each one. And before we get started, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. Got it. Right. Okay. I was waiting for that.
Sound effect was waiting.
Anyway, we hope we're giving you enlightened information on different aspects of real estate and our world as we navigate through the fun times, the good times and the bad times with our clients and with helping them out and hopefully having a purpose in our life to help our fellow clients buy and sell homes. And today, as I said, we're going to talk about new homes versus resale homes. And David, I'll let you get started on some of you since you work a lot with buyers. Get started on.
So we've got the ability as buyer agents to work with buyers, whether it's new construction, which a lot of people don't realize that they can bring their agent into new construction, actually have representation. We talked a little bit about representation in our last podcast, but we can also help with resales. So we cover both sides of that, and there's pros and cons to both. I mean, new construction, obviously, the newest bells and whistles, the house that's never been lived in, it's yours, it's only yours. The only thing that really you're limited by is price. Resales, you may find that location, schools, lots, some of those things are positive. So we'll kind of talk through all those aspects as we get into today's podcast.
I think one good point you brought up, David, maybe to hit the nail on the head with the new construction, is so many of the buyers that veer out to some of the new construction sites, and with all due respect to the site agents that are there, they always do represent the builder. And little do people, there's little awareness to the point that you said that a lot of people can bring their own agent in at no charge to them. It doesn't really affect their numbers typically. We don't have a lot of, insight onto the back end of the builder's part. But, typically when these houses are put on MLS, they are showing that they do participate and cooperate with buyer's agents and at no charge or, additional cost to the buyer. And although the site agents and all the ones that we come across are so wonderful and reputable and really know everything about it, it is nice to have some advocate on your side if there becomes a problem. And most of the problems are he said, she said, that might not be in the contract. Some of them, most of the time, are time issues, which I know you can speak about.
Yeah,
very personally.
I think that, over a long period of time in the business, you definitely have experiences where new construction delayed. And I'd say probably the biggest one I've got right now is this terrific client who wrote a contract back last February. She was supposed to close in June with rates at 3.75, and we're now in November with a rate approaching 7+.
She gonna pull the plug?
The house is not done. She can't. So there's a lot of challenges there too, and I think buyers need to be aware when they go in. Builders contracts, they kind of control. They've got the contract you have to use. You can't change it. Timelines are protected. A lot of times they're protected by state law too, where they can have up to 2 years to build a house. But in this case, the house was already out of the ground, so I'm representing her, and it's like, hey, there shouldn't be any significant delays. It's out of the ground. Well, it's a new concept in a county that hasn't used it before. They have basically changed guidelines throughout the last 6 months, and the builder's playing catch up. And there gets to be sometimes where the builder's like, hey, we want to do what you want us to do, county, but every time we do something, you make us redo it. So there's some challenges there that she's faced, but there's not a great way out unless you no longer qualify financially for the house. You're a little bit stuck. So she's in this process where rates have changed a ton. The timeline's changed. She's been trying to find a place to live on and off for the last 4 months, thinking it was going to happen. So that's one negative, is you really don't control the timeline with new construction. But there's a ton of positives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the positives, though, a lot of builders, we went through this probably not as much now as we did about a year ago with supply chain issues. A lot of the builders did put in a clause that, you know, they had the right to escalate the price. It wasn't just what you were signing up for. They did have the right to escalate the price. But if it was over a certain amount, the buyer, could get out of the contract. And I don't know.
That kind of helped happen to people during the pandemic.
Yeah.
With
Exactly.
the wood and all that, and
Yes.
lumber and all that they jacked up another 20 grand. It's like, oh, well, you don't want it? Okay, well, someone else is right behind you buying it.
No
That's right.
question. But it did give at least an out, you know, if someone was really on, you know, a certain level of purchasing and they couldn't go $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 higher, they were able to get out of it. So, because they did know somebody else would buy it. And it wasn't the builder's fault. I mean, you know, they had to pass that along because, you know, there were a lot of builders that went underwrite then because they did honor those contracts. And, you know, a lot of the, you know, more custom builders that weren't with a big company, you know, they honored those contracts and they lost money on the houses. So, you know, but I think that's a little bit more, you know, probably tightened up now and not the case so much anymore. It's more the timeline issue, I think, now for a lot of things. So
Timeline and rates, because you can't
Yeah.
lock in your rate with new construction
Right.
until you're within, you know, 60 or so days of closing, unless somebody offers an extended lock or something like that. It's one of those things where you really just don't know until you get closer to the end what that's going to be.
How long is it typically for a house? Say like 3 stories.
It's usually, in this market, I'd say 9 months is probably
Mm-hmm.
a fair guess. If it's a truly custom house, it's
A
probably
year.
going to be a year, if not
Yeah.
a little bit more. And then there's a few builders out there that throw things up really quickly and have a process that is in line and control their supply chain, control all of their subcontractors.
But
may
they
get
don't
something-
let the buyer really customize much.
Not much.
A,
Right.
B, or
Those are-
C,
yeah.
and that's all your
Yeah,
options.
like paint or something like that.
right.
and
Like these are your cabinets.
cabinets.
Here's your 3 paint colors. Here's your 6 cabinet colors. And a lot of
Right.
people are fine with that. Sometimes too many choices
Right.
is challenging for the buyer too. They go through and it takes them too long to make their decisions. And that delays the process. And the buyer's like, well, why is it taking so long? And the builder looks back and goes, well, you haven't finalized any of your selections yet. So
Yeah,
there's,
because there might be delays on getting that.
that's right. Once
Yeah.
you make that decision, it's locked
well,
in.
and then
So-
if you try to change it, that's even worse.
Oh yeah.
Those-
Change fees.
Yeah, the big change order fees. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the cool thing with building new construction is that to the extent that your pocketbook will allow it, you can have anything that you want. So
Correct.
you can change rooms, you can have the flooring you want. You're not going to walk in a year, unless you're my wife, after you move in and want to change anything. You just selected those things.
Oh,
I think we're on our 3rd or 4th set of granite countertops in our house.
it's our
because that's gonna
second. Thank you very
change
much. Our second.
But she talks about the third and
Change.
fourth all the time.
I mean, they're coming soon. That's when I redo the whole kitchen.
But it's pretty awesome because you do get that ability to walk in and select your carpet, select your flooring, everything that you want. Whereas with resales, I think a lot of times, you know, we go by almost like if you can get 75% of what you want in a resale, it's pretty darn close to the perfect house.
I talked to some people yesterday who were inquired about a new construction going up in a neighborhood. And, you know, I told them about a potential resale coming up in the neighborhood. And they, you know, I guess things are just so much more accessible now to be able to renovate and remodel and all of that. And they just said, you know, I mean, I think we're just going to hold out for a resale and just gut it and do what we want. By the time they paid the new construction fees for a house that might not be on an exact lot they wanted, or this was a spec house going up, you know, and the cabinets were already in, which they didn't really like the cabinets that much. And, you know, they just thought we'd rather just maybe do it on our own. So the other, I think, problem with new construction, again, to David's point, you get what you want, you know, I mean, you get an architect to do it, you know, whatever, or buy one of the builder's plans, is these buyers hold tight to how much they spent on their extras. And if they move within 2, 3, 4 years, boy, the first thing they give us when they call us to resell their home, well, I want you to see all the extras I put in my house when I built it. And I'm going, please don't show me and don't ever show a buyer because they're so proud of what they did. And rightfully so, they should be, because you never forget the money you spent on the extras when you're building a home. But the new buyer doesn't want to think they're paying for the seller's choices And they want to think they're getting these upgrades that the seller put in for free because they're buying a resale. Otherwise, they're going to go and build. So, I mean, I had a seller once who was adamant that I show every upgrade that he spent on that house when he built it 10 years before. And, I would just, tongue in cheek, try to tell people because he was definitely wanted me to share that. And I do what they say, although he knew that that was not my advice. And everyone, to the point said, yeah, but that's, let's face it. In this day and time, everything changes in 2 years, what kind of granite you get, what color paint you're going to use, 2 or 3 years at
Stereo
least.
system.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
That's always
Don't
been a
ever
bit of
say
a nightmare.
Yeah, right.
We have a huge, fully wired home, smart home, and now everything's wireless.
Right.
So, those types of expenses don't always come back
Just
to
came
you.
across that this morning. Yeah. Our security system in our home, which is 20 years plus, was not working. They came out to look at it. They said, we think you need a whole new panel. And we'll get back with the cost with you. And I looked at Bobby and I said, should we just go wireless with this? Why are we paying? And he said, how long have you been here? We said 20 some years, 25 years. They said, you're lucky you've never had a problem with your panel and your security system.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking, yeah, that dates us a lot. But,
right.
Now why would we pay for a whole wired system when, I don't know. It's kind of like you're so proud when you build a home and you get that Christmas tree light switch.
Oh, yeah.
And now
it's
all
the best
lights,
invention ever.
Well, it is until now all the lights are battery operated, or you can put your Christmas candles on timers, all of that. So anyway.
So I just was looking up something that would be, I'm going to send it to Jennifer, so it's real quick, a picture that would be my custom. If I was doing a custom home, this would be my kitchen.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking. Hasn't come through yet.
Hasn't come through?
Not yet.
What?
I know.
There it goes.
Okay. Oh,
This would be my kitchen.
I want this. I do want, this is what I would do.
This was my kitchen.
I love this.
Everybody that can't see this right now.
We're going to show it up on the screen. But
I 100% agree.
yes.
You know what? As we talked about in our last podcast,
that's
one
so
of
cool.
one of the
Yeah,
housewives
that's
in OC had that, and I saw
Yeah.
that years ago, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I want that, like island with the seat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I would say that
wow.
kitchen's what, like 100,000?
Oh, that more than that, right?
Yeah.
But, yep.
That is so cool.
But with
That's where everybody congregates.
But
Yeah.
I'd also want 2 dishwashers
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can
on
see
either
that.
side of the sink. 2
That's because you have
dishwashers.
kids and you wash dishes still.
I know.
You
I just don't
wash
ever
them all
want
the
to put
time.
them away.
How many? Remember
just
that
wanted to
house?
go.
That house in Barrington we sold. It had. Oh no, it wasn't. No, was it Barrington? Yes. How many washers and dryers did they have?
Oh my gosh.
The upstairs and downstairs tile?
No,
I've seen
all
one.
upstairs.
All upstairs?
But they had
In
like 6
one big
kids.
room. I think it was like 6 of
Yeah,
them.
they had 3 washers
Oh,
and 3
I
dryers
think
that
I
went on
remember
at the
this.
same
It
time.
was huge. But,
Yeah.
but industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they needed it. They
Yeah,
really needed
they
it.
used it.
Smart.
I shot a house
Smart.
the other day. It was or not the other day, but maybe a year ago. It was 2 washer and dryers upstairs and then 2 downstairs. So they
Wow.
had 2 master suites basically. I was like, whoa.
You gotta
Yeah.
love laundry. That's
But
great.
that's really one of the nice pieces about new construction, right? Is they're always about the newest functionality. So the old colonials that everybody loves the charm and character of, the Cape Cods, everything that goes back, especially in Richmond to, the neighborhoods as you move out from the city, is those floor plans are closed in.
Yeah, you're not gonna fit that in that.
The
You're
new
gonna have to open a lot of
construction
walls.
is where you find the open kitchen to family
Right.
room. You find the patios that open up to the family room with these great door systems and things like that. So the technology in the new homes, the new functionality, the floor plans, like how many are building living rooms now?
Right.
Virtually,
Yeah.
Or even a
virtually
dining
zero.
room these
Right,
days.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, a huge kitchen with a big
I know.
country table. is
It's more
much
like an
more-
office area.
Yeah,
Like when
exactly.
you walk in, there's
Right.
that office type of deal.
So new construction definitely offers that. From
During COVID, it was like we would stage bedrooms to be offices.
Right.
Because that's what everybody wanted. They wanted their 3rd floor, an extra bedroom and all, or primarily the living room. A lot of
Right.
times we'd say, hey, let's put some screening up or doors up and put a desk in there, and they would see, or homework stations for the kids somewhere. So
Right.
things have changed a lot in the past 5 years.
So I got a question, and this is for all of us. If you had the choice, money's not an object here.
That's because I'm going to win the Powerball tonight.
Someone is in this room.
Where would you build your custom home in Richmond area?
I think Jennifer and I have kind of played with that idea a little
Yeah.
bit in the last little bit, just because
I don't even want to know you're going to go far away.
our kids are kind of aging out of having to be close to their schools and
Right.
things like that. So we'd probably be in the edge of Goochland with a little bit more land around us. But
Really?
Yeah.
You're saying money's no object?
Money's
No,
if money's no
there's nothing
object.
there.
House.
There's nothing there.
No. You
I
get-
like that,
Hey, you
though.
can get about 5 to 10 minutes west of Short Pump.
I
and
wouldn't
have
go more
everything
than
close.
12 minutes.
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
going. We're not going
Okay.
out to Charlottesville.
No.
We're
Okay.
going to
Like 12
I
minutes
think
would be
it's
my max.
64 to get on there and then
No.
turn around.
It'd have to be a Broad Street situation.
Broad Street or 288.
If money
right
was
there.
no option, our son goes to Benedictine. There is a house we pass every
Oh my
time. And if you're
gosh.
watching,
We've
the
watched
owner
it
of
be
this
built.
house is watching this podcast.
one
Please.
is it?
It's the white one. Ugh, it's a farmhouse. It is.
On River Road?
It's
on
off
River.
a river.
Oh, yeah.
Near Patterson, and it's
okay.
unbelievable.
If you're
it's got a
watching,
horse barn behind
Please
it. Which
invite us in.
She would love.
Oh, please sell it to them.
Yeah, only if we
Cool.
win the billionaire.
All right, Janice, where would
Oh,
you do?
I'm totally opposite. I want my stuff. But listen, when the grocery store across the street from my
Get
neighborhood.
closer to the mic.
Oh, when the grocery store across the street from my neighborhood closed, I thought I was going to die. I mean, because, without kids at home anymore, if I'm entertaining or something like that and I've got to run to the store for something, it was always right there. I literally am so grateful and thankful every time I get in the car that I am. And I won't say, Saks and Nordstrom, okay, because everybody thinks I shop a lot, but and Nordstrom's no longer here. But I am so grateful that I am within 7 minutes of a Lowe's, a Home Depot, a Target, a grocery store,
So
a
where's
Panera.
where's the area of the new house?
I
then?
mean, it's the Short Pump area. I mean, you
Short
live
Pump?
anywhere in Short Pump, and you are going to be within 5 to 10 minutes of where you are of
This is
anything
coming
you want.
from someone whose night never ends until the stores close
Correct.
because of purchases and
I look
take
for
backs.
stores that stay open.
I think she's on the returns list at just about every store you
Dillard's
can imagine.
kicked her out. Yeah.
There is a thing called Amazon,
I do that too. It's a lot easier to take something back to a store and buy something new than it is to send something back to Amazon where you don't get anything new. So, that's my philosophy. My poor husband.
She's real good friends
He's
with
my
her delivery
Sherpa.
men.
He's my Sherpa.
They're like, they see you're coming. All right, close the doors.
No, we're usually Bobby and I are at Lowe's. Before Jennifer started the staging with us, we were at Lowe's almost every night buying the fixtures, the faucets, everything we were staging with. And it got to a point that everybody at Lowe's thought he was an employee. He got an employee discount, basically. So they knew his last 4 digits of his card number. So.
Well, I can attest you've done that since I was little because I remember my panic attacks when I would hear the loudspeaker say, the store's closing in 10
Right,
minutes,
yes.
and I would be running for the
Oh
door.
my gosh.
Janice and Bobby ignore that. That doesn't
Oh,
bother
it
them at
doesn't
all.
bother me at all.
For sure thought we were spending the night.
But coming to an open house 3 minutes before we close it, I'm gonna eye you out of it. Not really.
I'm kind of still over in Midlothian area, but I kind of like Summer Lake and
Yeah.
that kind of area there where the amenities and the pools and stuff.
Yeah, it's like
and,
you said,
know.
that new construction, there's so much new construction over there. And then that new construction is usually surrounded by new shopping. The newest grocery
Yeah,
store.
that's the only thing about
dealers.
that area is it's still kind of a little bit of a jaunt to get to.
get around.
something real quick. So there's,
But it is nice when new restaurants kick in and,
Y'all
Yeah.
got it's a lot
Yeah.
of the best of the new
You guys
stuff
do
over
have
there
all
now.
Westchester area.
Yep.
That's
Yes.
kind of,
Oh, yeah.
that I'm
That's
constantly
so
over there.
cool.
I
think if
don't
you-
like how they have it laid out for getting in and out of there.
No, I agree.
I think they
I don't
know-
understand the new rise of roundabouts. Let me just.
Oh yeah, there's one right next to my house.
I
and
don't quite get it.
It's if you don't miss it, like that school time and stuff. That if you are 10 minutes before or
Right.
after or whatever, you're going to be stuck.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even just the new things that are, the West End Short Pump area certainly has a lot of new construction, a lot of new apartments and all coming up, but some of the new big monstrosity apartments are just to die for. I mean, there's so, if any of you haven't been to Regency recently, the Regency area, the apartments there, I literally took my car around the whole thing. I wanted to go in one so bad. They're floor to ceiling windows, which I would call probably a penthouse on some of
This is
these,
the
on the
one-
corner ones.
This is the one over here.
Off of Quioccasin
Quioccasin.
and
No, it's an
Parham.
old mall that's been converted.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
into
Regency
apartments
Square.
over there.
That was the only mall.
The only
when we were
mall
growing
before-
up.
after
yeah,
Willow
yeah,
Lawn.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
I mean, the apartments, they're just amazing, and they're occupied quite quite a big occupancy so already, but these new apartments that are going up are just amazing. Who wouldn't want to live there? But they're pricey too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing though with all the new stuff, whether it is Greengate, which is just kind of west of where we are, or West Broad Village, these new neighborhoods that are being built, they're trying to fit, they're running out of room, right? There's no more room left in Western Henrico County. As you get to Western Chesterfield, you're in Mosley,
Oh
you're
man,
starting
they
to
will find anywhere to build.
and,
Right.
and I
like the
think
traffic is like.
that's the big difference with the resale neighborhoods, right? The resale neighborhoods were built on larger lots. Most of the time, other than very close into the city, as you move out, the lots get bigger. So if you have that home built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they weren't cramming as many homes as they needed to in there. If you want that big backyard, new construction in a lot of this area is not going to be the option for you if it's in a suburban neighborhood, because they're trying to fit as many as they can.
Right.
Changing zoning requirements to fit as many as they can. So there is a big difference from that standpoint. So you're always weighing pluses and minuses between new and resale. Am I worried about the yard? Am I worried about the privacy, the lot, the proximity to neighbors? Or do I want new? Do I want the newer floor plan? Do I want newer amenities?
Townhomes or regular homes? What's more on the uppity up?
I'm a little biased, I guess, because I do think the townhomes.
Closer to the mic.
Oh my gosh. I do think the townhomes are fabulous. And with all due respect to the builders that totally know what they're doing, I mean, the 4-level townhomes, I get from more people that have lived in them, like, I can only stay a little. They're not going to use the elevator if they don't have an elevator. I mean, they're so vertical. And
wait. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I gotta use the elevator in my
seriously,
house.
they don't use it once if it comes with an elevator, nobody uses it. It's too slow.
It's too slow.
I would use it for groceries for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a dumb waiter.
Yeah.
But, it's a little bit of Northern Virginia, coming down in the short bump area now. I mean, these 4 and 5 level townhomes are definitely, I mean, you do get caught up in the sex appeal of the new construction and the new, openness of them. But
I shot a house the other day. The upstairs 3rd floor, 4th floor, the windows, the whole pans opened all the way up.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, oh man.
I know, right?
I was like,
with a nice patio, or
fireplace.
fireplace.
Fireplace and
Yep.
stuff like that. That was.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
cool. It's cool living for sure. But
Eagle Construction started that when they were doing some of
Yeah,
the
it's so
rooftops.
cool.
So
Right.
they did get those. I mean, they're always our builders are great locally, right? The people that have been around for years and years do an awesome job, and we've always had really good relationships with their site agents, with their management. And the key to that is when our clients have difficulties in the building, it's super nice to have an agent that can make a call, get somebody on the phone that can help you through challenging times, rather than just getting kind of the stock answer of, oh, that's too bad, and they just smile at you. You know why? Because you don't have representation, and you're going to have to deal with it one way or another.
right.
But even a lot of the local people have been in Richmond for quite some time, or the people that have moved here and stayed here, they want less maintenance, a lot of them. They want to downsize or even upsize but not have all the maintenance. And, these builders who are building this obviously are, getting these plans that are in very successful communities, throughout the country. So, I mean, it's definitely working, no question. So I think I think a lot of them are so new, it's not mature landscaping around them yet and that sort of thing. So it looks a little barren at the beginning, but I will say, you buy something sometimes when you don't realize the layout of the property around there. If you haven't seen, it's good to be the pioneer, but if you have no idea sometimes how close a building is going to be to you or what the layout's going to be. And I have had people that have been very disappointed in the layout of the community, just the topography of where the next building was going to be, even though.
Oh, you're talking about new.
New.
No,
New construction, new townhome
where
communities.
things are still being built.
Right.
It's one thing
Yeah,
to
where you have
look at a layout. It's another thing once it's built to live in it and
Right.
see it. That
Or
looks
see how close the people are.
20
next to
feet
you
is a
or
little closer
whatever.
than I thought it was
Yeah,
going to be.
yeah.
Or the trees were there when you built your house.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they go to build the next street, those trees disappear altogether.
Yeah.
In
and
your
the
backyard,
privacy is
yeah.
gone, and you're looking at 10 other backyards.
Yeah, in California, there's when you're on a hill and building the houses, or whatever, there's a certain level they can't go past because that'll block the view that
Right.
everyone's paying for of the
Oh,
valley and stuff
right.
like that.
Yeah.
So there's like certain things that are like when you purchase, that's something you don't think about of like, oh.
Well, and some of these buyers, I mean, literally, we had buyers that built out in a very prominent community in Goochland, and it looked like on paper they were going to get a wonderful backyard. They had 2 large dogs. They were going to fence it in, and it was a 0 lot line home out there. And unfortunately, they
What
bought
is 0 line lot?
where the house is not in the center of the lot. The house is basically on the side of the lot. So you own the side of your home and the lot beside it, and then the next house starts, so your lot's not in the center there.
So they don't have to go by the same county setbacks on the side. Again, it's one of those zoning things to fit a few more houses
Right.
into the same space. So they kind of space them out that way.
So on paper, it looked like they were going to have a really large yard, and the roads had not even been put in. So when the roads were finally put in, I guess the proffers changed the restrictions for the county as to how they were going to build these roads, and basically the gentle slope they were going to have in their backyard turned out to be
Quite a ravine.
A ravine.
Dropped off.
And they had basically 15 foot of yard, and
Yeah.
it was a fight with the builder whether they were going to I think they gave them the option to get out of the contract basically, but at that point they had been in a rental. We had sold their home. I mean, you get over a barrel when you're ready to move, so they lived with it, and they made the best of it. But sometimes when you're early in a subdivision like that, you don't know what can change around you.
Yeah,
So
when they stake your house out and all of a sudden you panic because you think the house looks half the size as what you were
Right.
building.
Right.
And those stakes go in and then it changes. When the foundation goes in,
Right.
it still looks small.
Yeah,
but
foundation
then
and footers always make it look pretty small.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, I built a much bigger house than what's going in here. As it goes through the process, it's usually, kind of controlling the panic sometimes that people are hit with when they didn't expect to see something. The finished product usually comes out pretty close to what they were hoping for, but that doesn't mean there aren't challenges and hurdles throughout. And I think
Right.
a big piece of that is communication. One of the things that we do when we're representing buyers on new construction is if there is something that is just eating at the buyer, you say, okay, let's have a meeting. The building superintendent or one of the people from the office, the site agent, us, the buyer agent, the buyers, we all meet. And it's so much easier to deal with those issues in person on the site rather than sit and wonder what if. So we find that there's a lot of ways that you can kind of communicate through those issues that may ease somebody's concerns more quickly than just saying,
just
hey.
getting to the right person sometimes, yeah.
Janice, did you ever do the whole sitting in the model representing for?
Yeah.
And what was that like?
That's how you
Okay,
got started, right?
That kind of, yeah. It's called
That's a grind.
Side agent versus resale agent, and it is a grind. It's a whole different animal. I mean, because you're basically. I'm not going to make light of any site agents. They do their job and they do it well. And now they're so educated. They know everything about, and most of the site agents that represent the large volume builders now, I feel like they have a degree in
They're almost like
construction.
superintendents or
Yeah,
something.
I mean,
Extremely
they are
well
just
trained.
so well trained. It's unbelievable. I was never in I was in a subdivision representing 4 builders, but I mean, it's mostly every Saturday and Sunday sitting there, kind of taking names and following up with everyone and going through the whole building process. It's a tedious process to represent only buyers who build, because it's, even though you're not marketing a house all the time, back then it was 6 months to build. Now it's a year. It's a long process. But kudos to the site agents now, because I just bow down to them. I mean, literally, I could go to them with anything, and they don't even have to ask. They know their stuff. I mean, they really do. They're like you said, they're pretty much more of a construction supervisor because they know everything. So, but it takes a different agent, to do that. So, and some love that because when they're off, they're off. They don't, and I'm not going to say they don't call back their clients. They probably do, but
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they'll have something saying, "Hey, Tuesday and Wednesday are my Saturday and Sunday.
Right,
I'll
right.
call you back on Thursday."
Yeah.
That's
or they
the
know somebody
process.
else can take over in that a model, and answer questions. So,
Yeah, that's going to be a go crazy job. Like I would go stir crazy sometimes.
Well,
Yeah,
and they have number. I mean, they're not that we're not responsible, for our goals and all of that, but they have numbers to meet for these builders, and it's definitely something that is
survey responses are going to contribute to whether or not they're bonused at the end of it. Most of the site agents, not all, but most are not licensed realtors. They're site agents.
Correct,
they are a sales agent for the builder. They're not, or not even a sales
I didn't know
agent.
that.
The majority of the people that you see in models are not real estate agents. So they don't follow the same rules, guidelines, and things that we do. They're selling that product for their builder.
And to that point about the set, about that, it does make when the buyer's agent comes with the client, as we do oftentimes to the site, it makes our job so easy, but you do feel a little bit inadequate because they're answering all the questions and they have everything, right at hand. But it makes our job so much easier, when they know all the answers to everything right then. So everybody comes away with a win-win on that one, I think. So
yeah, and I think a lot of the times the site agents and the builders almost prefer to have a buyer agent on the other side.
Exactly.
They like to have somebody to go through to kind of walk these, especially if it's an experienced agent that can help when there is a miscommunication to get through things. But keys to buying new are, hey, make sure you have everything in writing. Make sure that you're not guessing that, hey, this site agent told me that they're going to do this. Have it all in writing. Make sure that documentation is there before you move forward. I think the other big thing between resales and new is that some people don't always know the expenses that come in with new construction. Like, we don't have blinds yet. We don't have curtains. We don't have curtain rods. We don't have a fence at the house. We don't have appliances. We don't have a refrigerator, washer, dryer. So there's always out-of-pocket expenses that people aren't thinking of.
Some of them do that, but yeah.
Yeah,
Right, or
you'll
very
get a
minimal.
basic package, but all of those expenses come along. Where with a resale, you kind of see what you have. It's there. Many times it's mature. The fence is already there for the dogs. Things that can be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 out of your pocket are already there. So there's definitely kind of pluses to that resale having some of those big expense items already done.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, which do you do?
You
We'd
know
like
what?
you to do both.
We're here to support either
Either
way.
way, yep.
Either way. So, all right. Well, hopefully you guys learned a little bit today on both resale and new homes. And again, like and subscribe to the Real Realtors of the 804. Hit that bell button, and they'll let you know every time we post a new podcast.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank
we'll come up
you.
with something good for you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed today's episode of the Real Realtors of the 804. If you have a question you would like to ask Janice or her team, please reach out to them at realtorsofthe804@gmail.com or 804-921-9995.